There's no questioning the speed of Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, there's just a little questioning of the speed of Sonic the Hedgehog, but despite what you may have heard about Sonic's speed, I'm here to offer a different perspective. The differentest of perspectives. Yeah, better hold on to whatever it is you're sitting in. Most gamers would say that Sonic is one of, if not the fastest video game character to ever exist. And while Sonic has had his issues in the past, his character and games were completely built with speed in mind, for the most part. But Sonic Adventure 2 debuted a new member of the Sonic franchise, Shadow. The edgy, dark, alter ego of Sonic overwhelmed the franchise in the best way possible. People loved this Kurt Cobain wannabe to the point that Nintendo gave Shadow his own game after the success of his debut. But Shadow being both the physical and mental alter ego of Sonic raised some questions, the most important of which is who's faster? Throughout Sonic Adventure 2 and future releases of the franchise, fans have been given the opportunity to play as both characters, but their speeds always seemed equally matched or so close that it was impossible to tell. I don't think this is true. I believe that Shadow can not only match Sonic's speed, but hopelessly outrun him. But to understand how fast Shadow might be, let's figure out how fast Sonic is. Sonic's speed comes only from his physical attributes and abilities. He can literally only move as fast as his legs can carry him. Lucky for him, Sonic's legs are goddamn insane running machines that would give the Roadrunner a taste of his own medicine. During Sonic 06, the Blue Blur has multiple insanely fast running sections called Mach speed zones. Another lesser-known name for them is race to the bathroom after eating Chipotle zones. During these sections, Sonic is running so furiously fast that the world literally blurs around him. But what does a Mach speed section actually mean? Well, going Mach speed means that Sonic is at least going Mach 1, or 340.3 meters per second, which is literally traveling faster than the speed of sound. The fastest jets in the world go Mach speeds. The world record for the fastest speed ever reached is Mach 6.72, and that was achieved by flying on the edge of space to eliminate all possible air friction. Sonic, on the other hand, has the full extent of air and ground friction working against him, and is still able to achieve Mach speeds. So basically, he is faster than anything that has ever been on the ground. While we don't get Mach speed sections with Shadow, the Dark Hedgehog is able to match Sonic's speed in every other section, and it is generally assumed that Shadow is as fast as Sonic. However, many speculators call Shadow's shoes into question. Throughout Shadow's career, he has worn these kick-ass air shoes that allow him to match Sonic stride for stride. These shoes are basically like duct taping rockets to the bottoms of your feet. If we take a look at the bottom of Shadow's shoes, we can see that they were designed to emit rocket exhaust from these holes in the soles. By doing this, Shadow can seamlessly hover just above the ground, creating only air friction as he moves, which allows him to run faster and look badass as fwark. This gives Shadow's stride the look of skating as opposed to running, making his movement animations much more fluid than those of his grounded compadre. Meanwhile, Sonic doesn't use any technology to travel at Mach speeds, so based on this evidence alone, it would make sense to say that Sonic is actually much faster than Shadow because he doesn't need technology to move so quickly. That was my first thought when judging Sonic against Shadow, but then I began to think more about Shadow's lore. I'll quickly summarize Shadow's backstory. 50 years before the events of Sonic Adventure 2, a top-secret project known as Project Shadow, great name by the way, was underway on the Space Colony arc. This project, led by Eggman's grandfather, Gerald Robotnik, was a scientific attempt to create the ultimate life form. The end result was supposed to be an immortal being that could be used militarily. However, Robotnik realized that the project's result might be able to save his granddaughter Maria, who suffered from an incurable disease. Robotnik was unsuccessful in creating a cure, and in a desperate attempt to save his granddaughter, he sent a message out to an alien race called the Black Arms. Their leader, Black Doom, offered up some of his blood, which ended up being the key to creating the ultimate life form, aka Shadow. So yeah, Shadow is some government project mixed with alien blood. Maria does eventually die, and Shadow was put into stasis by the military because he was seen as a threat to humanity. That seems to happen when you're deemed the ultimate life form. So, 50 years later, Eggman releases Shadow, and Shadow decides to destroy humanity to avenge the death of Maria. So what does all this have to do with Shadow being faster than Sonic? Well, Robotnik created Shadow as the ultimate life form. Shadow was so ridiculously strong that his real power actually had to be restrained and controlled. The way Shadow controls and curbs his power is with these rings on on his wrists. The rings, dubbed inhibitor rings, limit the amount of chaos energy Shadow uses at any given time. When Shadow takes them off, he can tap into his full strength, which seems insurmountable. We do see Shadow take them off in Sonic 06. Mephiles taunts Shadow while multiplying himself in order to finish Shadow off. But then Shadow releases himself from the inhibitor rings. The next scene is Shadow just blazing through hundreds of Mephiles, without even breaking a sweat or attacking. The power bubble he creates from running without the inhibitor rings is enough to tear through the Mephiles clones. And obviously he isn't running that quickly here because Rouge and Omega are able to keep up. But here's the crazy thing, Shadow only released the inhibitor rings from his wrists. If we look at his character, Shadow clearly has inhibitor rings on his ankles as well. This is where I started to think that there's more to Shadow than we all thought. Sure, he has special running shoes, but he was created to be the ultimate life form. Robotnik made him to be as efficient as possible, and air friction creates much less drag than running on the ground. But even if Shadow was running on the ground, I believe these inhibitor rings around his ankles are what's keeping Shadow to Sonic's level of speed. If Shadow completely released himself from all his inhibitor rings, I don't think there's any question that Shadow could match Sonic's speed. In fact, I think he would destroy Sonic. However, Shadow doesn't want to be seen as humanity's enemy, so he's holding his power back, keeping it even with the other fastest being on Earth, Sonic. As long as Shadow doesn't reveal himself to be superior in any way, he won't be considered a threat to humanity and he'll continue to have his freedom. But if Shadow revealed his true power, he would be locked up again. So Shadow hides his power, placing himself as one of the fastest and strongest beings on Earth, but never showing just how much more powerful he is until the world needs it. Shadow is just like that kid Dash from The Incredibles, if you remember that movie. Dash is insanely fast, but doesn't want people to know it, so he blends his speed in with the others while racing, when in reality he could completely destroy the competition, but that would be deemed unfair. Shadow is in the same boat. He's a being of immense power that could surely overtake Sonic's speed, limiting how much he shows so that he won't be ostracized. But that's just what I think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, I want to reiterate that there's no weekly schedule for Treesicle now. Videos can come out at any time. So make sure to hit that bell so you get updated the minute we release a video. And I definitely recommend watching videos as soon as they come out. We might be doing some giveaways soon, but only people who comment on the first day will be entered. So don't miss out. I think that's all for today, so I'll see you all next time.